prosperity. All you want, then you can have it for free. Try it and you'll see. Inside we're all prosperity.
Well, you know, we try to keep things light on Family Day, but I come to you a little bit heavy-hearted today. This has been a tough week for a lot of us as they handed down the decision in the Ferguson case, the Michael Brown case, and I felt like with a topic like honoring all voices, it was really a time to bring it forward because many of us feel that all voices were not honored in that situation. And the resulting heartbreaking chaos and violence and hatred has been really difficult for this entire world. So I wanted to touch on it today. Even though it's Family Day, I think it's a topic that as we start examining our own hearts and teaching our children, maybe there won't be this kind of issues for that generation or the generation after that. We've been holding out for a long time, and sometimes things happen that make one feel like we've made no progress, but we have. We have made progress. There's been a lot of discussion on the Google ministers' Google listserv, and it was someone wrote on there saying, well, we shouldn't talk politics on this, and someone else was really quick to say this is not a political issue. It's about people's pain. It's about people's suffering, and it's about the right to be heard and acknowledged and honored. So I realize that it's a touchy subject and I am not a very courageous human being. So tackling a courageous topic for me it's a new thing, and one that I hope we continue often. And this is one of the things that one of the ministers wrote. Everyone wants to be heard. Everyone wants to matter. Everyone wants to feel as though he or she has value. Everyone wants dignity, respect, honor, and most of all, love. And in all of the dialogue about things staying the same and with all the cynicism, pain still persists. What are our expectations? Can we see a world that works for everyone? Yes, we can. Will we? I don't know about you. I will. And then she goes on to say, this may be a typical New Thought response, but I really get that it's necessary for us to expect something better than we've been doing. We prepare for war better than we prepare for peace. So while I'm not justifying the violence in the aftermath, I'm questioning the care that is missing in this situation. There was a lot that could have been done to help ease the situation and the hurt and the pain and the violence. The outrage comes from the fact that people do not feel as though they have any power. People do not feel as though they have any value. And people are desperate because they know the injustice of not being treated as someone whole. Anyone who feels as though he or she is not being heard is going to want to fight. That's what causes wars, abductions, and any number of horrific crimes around the planet, including the crimes that we do to nature. Let's recommit to loving our neighbor because it appears that we have very little clue as to how to do it. Let's pray for guidance in our loving. This is surely worthy to pray about for Ferguson, for the United States, and for the world. So I want to just open this up as we have, and it's not necessarily to talk about what happened in Ferguson, but really to ask you in your heart, what does honoring all voices mean? It's a value that's been chosen by this community. And so it's important that we all have a voice in what that truly means to us. Are you ready? Let's see those hands now. All right.
Many of you that know me know that I am very into words and the root of words. And so when I come across a word that I'm experiencing some sort of difficulty with, I'll look it up in the dictionary and look to the root of the word to find out why. And I'm currently experiencing some difficulties in my life with people comprehending me. And so I looked up the word competency. And the word competency actually comes from the Latin word to meet and agree with someone. So when I hear that you want to be heard and that you want to honor all voices, what I know I do and I advise other people to do to me and to other people is always agree with other people about who they are, because they're obviously the author of their life, and to actually in any way disagree with what they say they are is not being competent of who they are. So if you want to be a competent person, then you need to show that you agree with everyone about everyone else. And that is all I need to say.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. That's excellent. It's not necessarily changing one's point of view to match theirs, but it's saying, I honor you. I honor you. Let's see, we had a hand right here.
I was just going to say, first you have to listen.
Yeah.
You have to know what someone is saying, so you have to listen.
That's true. Thank you. See, we had, John.
For 2,500 years, we've used democracy, the idea of majority rules, as a sort of a good way to navigate our way through culture, life, history, and so on. What we've finished up with is anybody who's in the 51% many times can feel that they're justified in even possibly bullying the other 49% and still getting away with it. In other words, what we've done for 2,500 years is to have a world of winners and losers in which we're not really finishing up with what I consider to be a noble and a righteous and a decent and a positive outcome. So we've gone from competition, which is what this means, into confrontation and conflict. It seems to me that what we need right now, and this is what I think is the New Thought way, is to have an attitude that says at the end of the day, everybody has to finish up in the winning circle. And a woman's way is, for the most part, I've found in my travels, and I've traveled pretty extensively, for the most part is all about, at the end of the day, I want to see everybody being in that winning circle. I'm interested in 100% rather than 51%. In the Ferguson situation, it seems to me that should have been really the attitude of those who perhaps had the biggest voices or the loudest voices or the most prominent voices. That should have been the way in which we navigated our way through this, rather than finish up with a more divided nation and a more divided world because of that 51%, 100% type of dynamic of which we have a choice any day.
Thank you, John.
Good morning, everyone. Coming from Deep South, Jim Crow area, one thing Molly said is, I know we've made some inroads, or I wouldn't be sitting here beside her, and we wouldn't be sitting together like this. I come from a very segregated environment, so I know we've made some inroads. I'm reading a very enlightening book, and one thing I've been learning from that is to have one conversation. Instead of two conversations, I'm trying to get you to come to my point, you're trying to get me to come to your point. We have to agree to disagree. Let's build on that one conversation. Like he said, instead of the majority rule, let's both rule and let's both add on to it, and know without knowing. Don't predict, and know that you know what the person's saying. Like she said, listen, everybody cohesively said all the right things to come together, but agree to disagree and also have one conversation instead of two separate conversations.
Excellent. Excellent. Let's see. Anybody else? Yes, Kathy.
Well, it's really can be difficult for me when I look at what's going on in the world, and I think, wait, what? So for me, it's, as everyone said, listening, stopping, and not having a knee-jerk reaction. But when I do have a knee-jerk reaction, because I do, then notice that and stop, and then know I can change myself, and I can change those who I have influence over with, and that's the best I can do. Fighting on social media and having arguments and well, I think it's a very interesting phenomenon because I'm hoping that what we're seeing is all this stuff is bubbling up and nothing can really be hidden so much anymore from our view. So my prayer and my vision is that this is part of the process of the healing of mankind.
Yeah. Amen. Amen to that. It's a big subject, isn't it? Honoring all voices, because many of us don't even know the voices that we do not honor. It's a strange phenomenon. You don't know what you don't know about yourself, you know? You know? One of the other ministers wrote this: I would suggest and request that we as ministers take time to hear the cry of a broken nation and broken hearts. If we want to launch this vessel of oneness, awakened humanity, and a world that works, this is our time. Our nation needs a group of people who can stand for truth, know that it is all God and something greater is being revealed. While we hold each other and let the tears flow, let the pain have voice so that it can be released and healed. It's time to be strong in principle and tender in care, open and welcoming arms for those in pain, and faithful words of affirmative prayer. So what keeps us from honoring all voices? If we dare to ask ourselves that question, then I think we have to look at the pervasive racism and genderism, if you will, sexism, all of those isms that we have going on in our country at this time, and the unknown privilege that we have in our own hearts, you know. I lived in New York City for a time, and there I met a wonderful friend, an actor named Cleavon Little. You may remember him. He was the lead in Blazing Saddles. Great man, wonderful friend. We developed a good friendship. And I remember one night his heart was really filled with pain, and he told me that more than once he's gone into a liquor store in Manhattan and been asked to show his money before he can come into the store. And you just don't think about this happening to someone like Cleavon Little. He's rich, he's famous, and really good looking. So, but it did, and that was a window for me, because before that I don't think I could have ever acknowledged or seen the level of pain in people, because I made assumptions about them. If you're rich and famous, you don't go through that. Well, that's not true. It's not true at all. So as I searched my own heart and mind, I have had to conclude that yes, I myself have had prejudices and biases, and it takes rooting around in there to find them out. It takes paying attention to my reactions to the world to find out what they really truly are. I ran across a study that was done at Duke University. They called it Racism Without Racists. Here are some of the things that this study highlighted. When babies are as young as 3 months old, research shows that they start preferring to be around people of their own race. There's something that happens to us in our very human nature that causes us as little kids to want to be with people of our own race. Now, knowing that, just knowing that, can open up a whole world, Because knowing that, we can say, oh, this is some kind of an inherent bias, and I choose not to operate from that. And when we teach our kids not to be afraid of other people, of people that are different from them, then we begin to cross those barriers and create that world that works for everyone. Here's another one. White NBA referees call more fouls on black players. Black referees call more fouls on white people, on white players. This is a good one. A study in Milwaukee showed that 17% of whites with prison records received callbacks on job applicants. 14% of blacks without prison records received callbacks on job applications. That disparity or what? In 2004, 5,000 fictitious resumes were sent in response to 1,300 help wanted ads. Some resumes had traditionally white names like Brendan, others had traditionally black names like Jamal. Applicants with white-sounding names were 50% more likely to get calls for interviews. And finally, 56% of black people believe black Americans face significant discrimination. Only 16% of white people agree. Wow. We have pervasive discrimination in our world. It's a problem, and many of us don't see it or don't admit it. So if we want to truly, truly honor all voices, we got to look inside. We got to look inside so that we can heal the world. Because where does it all start? Right here. Right here. The world that works for everyone. In the wake of Ferguson, I'm called to remember the words of Howard Thurman upon the death of Martin Luther King. Tonight there is a vast temptation to strike out in pain, horror, and anger, riding just under the surface all the pent-up fury, the accumulation of a generation's cruelty and brutality. A way must be found to honor our feeling without dishonoring him whose sudden and meaningless end has called him forth. May we harness the energy of our bitterness and make it available to the unfinished work which Martin has left behind. It just may be, that what he was unable to bring to pass in life can be achieved by the act of his dying, for there is eloquent precedence in human history. He was killed in one sense because mankind is not human yet. May he live because all of us in America are closer to becoming human than we ever were before. Today I'm open to new ideas, to whatever helps me keep my heart open, my love alive. It's an imperative for me because I am the beneficiary of an irreducible truth, which is this: love is all there is. So I'm going to circle back to the sweetness and the love of Audrey's poem for us today. I'm going to close with, when we find that voice inside that guides us, that really acts as the compass to our behavior, if we let it, honor your voice, that small voice inside that really keeps you on track. Ernest Holmes wrote, God is always God, no matter what our emotional storm or what our objective situation. There is always a something hidden in the inner being that has never been violated. We may stumble, but there is always that eternal voice, forever whispering within our ear, that thing which causes the eternal quest, that thing which forever sings and sings. When we are waiting on the divine presence and listening to the voice of God through our own intuition, we come into a consciousness of peace and a realization that we all belong to one human family. So let's take all of this into prayer with us as we do the 5 steps of affirmative prayer, beginning with, God is all there is. God is a divine presence and of peace and love and joy and plenty. God is the power that made everything. There is no greater power. There is nothing powerful that does not tap into the power of God. And because God is all there is, I know that I am a part of that as well. Each person here is a part of God. It can't be any other way. If God is omnipresent, that means right where I am, right where you are. So in that knowing, then I claim and know, I claim the understanding that I am made from the building blocks of love itself, of peace itself, of joy itself. And my life presents to me according to however much peace and joy and love and abundance I allow into my life. So I begin allowing more right now. And I claim that for every person here. Every person hearing my voice. More peace, more joy, more love, more order, more kindness, more compassion, more love. And then I open my eyes, my inner eye, and I recognize the love and joy and peace of every person that I run into. No matter how humble, no matter who this person presents in reality, I know and claim for them that the peace of God is right there in their hearts, that the joy of God is right there in their presence. And I let it be okay. I let it be so good. And I commit myself to knowing only good and only love and only joy in people. I commit to honoring all voices. And I'm so grateful for this. I'm so grateful for this knowing.
Try it and you'll see. Inside we're all prosperity, and you too can live abundantly.